The forms of assessment tools used by the teacher during our observation are first, for the assessment for learning, the teacher included ideas on collecting information by strategic use of questioning, giving feedbacks, and class discussion, while on the assessment as learning, teacher using evidence about students' knowledge, understanding, and skill in a form of pretest, and lastly, for the assessment of learning, frequent progress monitoring in a form of final project, midterm, and final examination where a student's academic performance is regularly assessed between benchmarks to determine if the current instruction and intervention is positively impacting students' achievement or if adjustments need to be implemented. Class discussion, providing feedback, and inquiring are examples of formative tool or assessment. A formative tool is for defining and shaping learning, and it can strengthen the student's skills and talents. Formative assessment procedures in theory should increase both teaching and learning at the same time by actively encouraging students to examine their respective competencies and understanding of the content. Along with delivering precise instructions and feedback, the teacher may help students progress as learners. List all the summative assessments that you have observed. Why do you say so? Final projects, midterm, and final exams are the tools used by the teacher. These tools are used to assess students' learning by comparing results to a set of standards or criteria. They are frequently high stakes, which means they're worth quite a bit of points.
The intended learning outcome projected by the teacher are: first, identify the musical instrument and other sound resources from the lowlands of the zone, which is supported by traditional assessment multiple choice pretest. It is commonly utilized by teachers, schools, and assessment organizations for the following reasons. The second intended learning outcome: explore ways of producing sounds on a variety of sources similar to the instruments being studied. The teacher used non-traditional assessment, which she gave them a final video presentation, which consists of student work and displays mastery of skills of the task and expression. And the last intended learning outcome projected by teacher is: improvise a simple rhythmic or melodic accompaniment to selected music from the lowlands of the zone, which is supported by non-traditional assessment final project, which can be created individually or as a group. They can possess concepts as well as prior experience of the learners. According to the teacher we interviewed, MAPE is the subject she teaches, and the assessment and grading system she follows is 60% for performance task, 20% for written work, and another 20% for examination. And when it comes to reporting students' grades and performance, since she is a subject teacher, she does not directly report it to students' parents, but the class advisor. Not unless she is called about the student's grade if there's a concern regarding the student's performance on her subject. Based from the class observation, the teacher considered using the characteristics of questioning and guidelines of test construction, which is, it requires simple recalling, and questions are usually close-ended or questions that require a specific answer.
It is imperative to evaluate learning because in assessing the student's success is a key component of learning because it helps students learn. When the students are able to see how they are doing in a class, they are able to determine whether or not they understand course material. It can also help motivate students and establishes whether the learning objectives in a course are being met. Examine the effects, the frequency, and the feedback and the various forms of assessments that are used to test students.
Yes, record keeping is an essential aspect of formative and summative assessment for grading. Each student's entries should identify the child's current proficiency level with each target and its criteria. A consistent record-keeping system is essential for grading reliability. It also helps our students to the evidence of their current progress to actively manage and adjust their own learning and provide our students the ability to track their educational goals.
Yes, the teacher have prepared TOS to identify the achievement domains that being measured and to ensure that a fair and representative samples of questions appear on the test. Teachers cannot measure every topic or objective and cannot ask every question they might wish to ask. A table of specifications allows the teacher to construct a test which focuses on the key areas and weights those different areas based on their importance. A table of specifications provides the teacher with evidence that a test has content validity that covers what should be covered.
The teacher systematically aligned the assessment tools in every perspective area in learning. The teacher used it clearly and appropriate for the intended learning outcomes. For her to assess correctly that helps the students and that uses to modify the instructional techniques, lesson designs, or technical materials.
The teacher gradually used a scoring rubric to evaluate the student's performance. It was utilized when she instructed his student to make a video presentation regarding to their topic, and it can be seen as communication tool between student and teacher, as it aligns expectation and outlines learning objectives for the assignment between student and teacher. This point is often expressed in terms of students understanding the learning target and criteria for success.
There are some learners encounter difficulty in answering the teacher's questions and some are not. Difficulties are often an unavoidable but important part of the learning process. This seems particularly so for complex conceptual learning. The students who have encountered difficulty did not understand well the subject matter, and the other students are not ready to take that assessment tool. On the other hand, the students who did not encounter difficulties simply because they understand the topic well.
Yes, the teacher encountered challenges with the advent of technology while the teacher are expected to integrate technology into the classroom. The reality can be different. Some of the issues teacher can face relate to the technology itself. Others relate to students or parents' expectations or whether there's enough of the right professional development to help teachers become proficient in digital technology. Without addressing these concerns, we risk creating a generation of students unprepared for a digital future.
Assessment process is one of the primary tools used by the teacher to determine the extent to which a student is capable of their goal. As a pre-service teacher, I will consider the non-traditional assessment, identify and avoid bias, and blending assessment in teaching. Also, by assessing skills other than merely content that can actually be powerful and meaningful tools to evaluate how well my students are mastering the material I am covering in class.
As a future educator, I will educate myself about fear and its impact to students. Recognize that some students' fears may be associated with some factors outside the classroom. Help students become aware of their feelings of anxiety when they occur and create a nurturing environment of my students. Lastly, as their teacher, motivating them to study is also necessary to fight and avoid this kind of fear.
I will establish and build protected and supported feedback to make sure that they are safe. They want to do well and to succeed, and sometimes you'll find the students being overly hard on themselves when they make mistakes or didn't do something as well as they'd hope. Whatever the reasons for this, maybe you're in the perfect positions to provide comfort and solid reassurance that your classroom is not a place of judgment.
The following tables shows you how to compute grades based on the DepEd assessment guidelines.